Hello and welcome to Gabbett Media. I'm Grant Abbott and today I'm going to take you through my setup. So flip the camera around and I'll go nice and wide so you can see what's going on in my room. It's a little bit messy over there and there's lots of boxes to sort out, but most people are interested in what's going on here. So let's move into the computer, just here. So someone was asking me about the case. It's a Fractal Meshify 2 with light tempered glass or something like that. My processor is an AMD Ryzen 9. It's the 5950X, the 16-core CPU. And of course, it's got an RTX 4090 in there, 128 gigabytes of RAM. I was lucky enough to get given this machine by PC Specialist and Nvidia, and I've been really impressed with both those companies. I used to buy my computers from PC Specialist before. They're UK-based company and they're absolutely fantastic. If you're in the UK, I would strongly recommend them. And of course the RTX cards, I wouldn't recommend anything else for Blender because of the optics support. You can see my camera there just quickly. That's a G85 Lmuix, so it's just a basic DSLR, nothing particularly special there. Then I've got my monitors. I've got an Asus and it's supposed to be a 4K or something. They never were quite 4K, but they always advertise that they are. And it's pretty decent, good colors. I like that one. I'll put the model up on the screen. This one is the XP Pen Artist 24 Pro. No, it's just the Artist 24, actually, come to think of it. But there wasn't a huge amount of difference between this and the Pro, and they happened to send me this one, so I'm happy with that. I've got my notes to remind me what to talk about, and my spec there, in case I forget. Lots of people ask me about whether they should go for Wacom or one of these cheaper brands like Kywoo, XP Pen, Artisol, and there's loads of them in fact. I've found that XP Pen are the only ones that work for me. I find Gammon and Ugee are a little bit cheaper, but they're not quite as good when it comes to the screens. Huion and Artisol, they never work on my machines. I don't know whether it's a RTX graphics card thing, but I've only found that the XP Pen works, so I always stick with them. Then there's the argument of whether I should be upgrading to something like Wacom. Well, they're 4 times the price of these machines, so I just can't seem to justify that in my head. I don't think they deserve that price difference. I have used a Wacom before, and I didn't find they were that much better. They are very slightly better, but if you're doing something like sculpting, then you don't have to worry too much if it's really, really precise. Whereas if you're digital painting, then that's when I notice that there's a very, very slight difference, but it's so minute that it doesn't really bother me that much, and you soon get used to that difference. It's not a problem. In terms of my microphone, I've got the Shure SM7B, that's the one. It's like the classic podcast mic, and it's really good. Really impressed with that. I love this, microphone arm. It's Elgato, and it's sort of low profile, so I can type away on my keyboard and speak into the microphone. And I occasionally have to look around the microphone to see my keyboard, but apart from that, it's really awesome. The keyboard, lots of people ask about this. This is 3D Connections. It's fairly expensive, but it's quite nice that you can separate your numpad onto the left-hand side, because obviously it's on the right-hand side. Normally you have to take your hand off the mouse and then put it on the numpad, but this way I can use my left hand. But occasionally, just from muscle memory for so many years, I take my hand off the mouse, put my hand here, and it's not there, and then I start using my left hand. But generally, if you can get used to it, I prefer this kind of setup. And it's got lots of sort of function buttons at the top and things as well. If you like that sort of thing, I never set them up. Just because if I'm teaching Blender, I want it to be as basic as possible. So anybody, new user coming to Blender, won't have these special buttons that I've got set up. And it reminds me then to say all the shortcut keys and so forth. So I keep my system as vanilla as possible. The mouse is a Razer. Really like this one. It's a Razer RZ01, is it, or something? Razer Pro Click, I don't know. But I looked it up and it was really good, so I chose that one. I did have a 3D Connections mouse, so it was the same as the keyboard company, but I kept having a problem with the mouse. It would just, after a few months, start lagging and be problematic, so I thought, right, that does it. I'm gonna swap for a Razer. The other thing is the lighting. I have Elgato lights at the back there, and you can control them with a little control panel here, so I can make them orangey or bluey, you know, that sort of thing, which is quite cool. And then I have these big, huge softboxes, one there and one there. And I actually have a little controller here, so I can turn them off and on. Therefore, I can just quickly jump in, film something if I need to, without having to go and switch things on and so forth. The other lights I've got is, I've got a Benku here, and it's one of those sort of touch lights. That's quite handy because I can actually put this up and light my face slightly. You can see that if I put that up and down, I can get a bit of extra lighting on the side if I need it. And I quite like having extra light on my desk. I've also got a screen bar as well. Now, I didn't like this at first. I didn't think much to it, but if I turn my lights off, you can see my screen bar. It does light the desk. I'll turn this one off as well. And you can see the difference it makes to your desk. And that actually helps my eyes a little bit. It just lights things up. It lights the back wall as well and the desk. So when it starts getting a bit darker in here, that helps. And with just a desk lamp as well, it can be a little bit nicer and comfy on your eyes. There's lots you can do with this screen bar as well. You've got lots of controls here. And you can see I've got auto and you can up and down. It's quite a nice little thing that I always fiddle with when I'm on calls to people and stuff. I'll put my other lights back on. You can see I've got an Autocue on my camera. I forgot to mention that earlier. So I can put my phone just here with the text on and then start getting text up there. So I do Autocue some of my videos. I've got an ecorche there as well. I like that. I can't remember where it's from, but I'll put that in the description. The 3D printer is a Kywoo 3D. So you might have noticed that I don't do a lot of 3D printing on my channel. I do quite enjoy it, but it's one of those things, I'm not really a collector of items. So perhaps I could have in the background lots of my 3D prints, and maybe I'll do that in the future. But for some reason, there's something stopping me really getting into it and getting enjoyment out of that. I think for me, the problem is you have to spend a fair bit of time figuring out the settings and getting things right to get a good 3D print at the moment. So it's not grabbed me because of that. Maybe one day I'll get a resin printer and that might help. I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. Then over here as well, I've got my laptop. That's a Pro Art StudioBook from Asus. It's got a funny sort of wheel on it, which is kind of handy if you like that sort of thing. But to be fair, I hardly ever use it, and I'd rather the cost was put more into the functionality of the machine. It's got a RTX 3080 in there, so it's a very powerful machine. And again, I was lucky enough to be sponsored by Nvidia and Asus working together to give me that. And I recently took that on holiday with me. It was very useful because I had a powerful laptop that I could do all the things that most of the things that I could do on my other machine. If I was going to use that more regularly, I'd definitely get a second screen for it though, that I could carry around, some sort of second screen anyway. With that, I take with me just a simple Ugee graphics tablet. Then I don't worry if it gets bashed about. It's okay, these brands are not too bad. There is a cheap Wacom tablet that you can get that's kind of like for students. And I think I prefer that one to the cheaper brands. Ugee's not too bad. Again, I'd prefer XP Pen, but it just happened that Ugee sent me this one. It works well, so I keep it. And I don't care if it gets bashed about a little bit. The mouse I take around with me is a TechNet. It's just a cheap mouse really. Again, when I'm carrying these things around, I worry that they're going to get bashed around or broken. So I haven't spent too much money on this. The only thing I don't like about it is that you have to put batteries in it instead of charging it through a USB. I think a good pair of headphones will make a big difference, especially if you're doing any sort of filming. And I've got the DT770 Pro. And if I go around to my computer, it's really worth having a place where you can plug your headphones in so you can quickly check your sound quality. If you're interested in books, these are a must-have. I think Anatomy for Sculptors and Anatomy of Facial Expression. You can see I've bookmarked pages which I've found useful and so forth when doing things. Under my desk I've got a Rokoko suit which I really want to play with, but haven't really had much time. I've had a few problems with the head center for that, so I haven't really got into it because they had to send me some replacement parts and I haven't had a good bulk of time to actually look at that and fix it and so forth. But it's something I really want to get to and I want to have lots of fun with. And generally it's a bit messy, as you can see over on that side. It's alright if I look from about here. As soon as I do that, yeah. My desk is actually a Friskadesk and it's got special controls for going up and down. So I can program in places and it will go up and down. And it's got a really handy cable tray at the back, so that's quite handy across there. I need to tidy it up a bit, certainly. Then there's the chair. I've got an Atom RS Black Edition. I'm not really a big fan of gaming chairs, but it's actually been really good. I thought the leather was going to split and it was going to be bad quality, but it's actually really good. It's held up really well, so I'm quite impressed with that. So I think that's most of my setup there. If you got this far, really well done. You could even say I'm still with you, Grant. I'll give you a thumbs up and a smiley face, as I often do. The only last thing is I don't really know what to put in the background. Obviously I've got a green screen, but I'd like some sort of cabinet display or maybe something with lighting. If you've got any ideas or a link to a channel where they've got some really good background, cool stuff, then let me know, because I'd like to take a look and get some ideas. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.